My first time with this thing. I feel so professional. Do I look professional? No. Hey, hi. How's everyone doing? Good. Good. It's great to see so many new people here, as well as some returnees. Hello. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm Will. As Kevin said, I am a designer here at Planning Center. I've been here for 5 years, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that I've been doing that's fairly new. So that's UX, right? So I view the web. I'm a very unusual person, just FYI. So if you find that during the conversation, this guy's weird, it's okay. A lot of people do. I view the web as the physical world, like as I do the physical world. I'm not Neo, but that's how I view it. And I interact with objects every day because I'm not a machine. I'm not a computer. I'm a person. I know that this is a table. I'm going to put my computer on it. There's an experience there. And whenever I talk to people about it, you can't see me on the thing? That's okay. I don't want them to identify me on the stream. Whenever I talk to people about creating the web, basically I show them this little diagram, and I say, like, this is kind of what the web is. Like, you have your structure. When you're building a house, you have your structure, which is the HTML. You have your design, or you have the foundation, the domain and the hosting. You have the design. You have the functionality. And when I talk to people who are just learning about the web, it kind of clicks for them. They kind of understand that physical relation rather than like the digital approach. So it's a good starting point for me. And so there's an experience involved with that, like there's an experience involved with the real world. Like, we have real world experiences every day. So I'm going to set up a scenario for you. When I go home, I have my apartment, and I know that when I get home, I'm going to have a series of experiences in my world. When I go to my couch, I know that the basic expectation is I'm going to go up to my couch, I'm going to lie down, and I'm going to relax. That's the experience I'm looking for. It's a basic expectation, right? Everybody has that. When I go to my bathroom, I'm going to wash my hands, take a shower. The hot water is going to be there. This is a basic expectation. When I go to the kitchen, I know that I can clean. I know that I can cook. Basic experiences, basic expectations there, right? We kind of take these things for granted. But there is a slight problem with that. So my wife really likes Target. She sometimes likes to go out for drives as a therapeutical thing. She likes to drive around and, release the steam after I've upset her. No, I'm just kidding. She's a sweetheart. But she goes to Target. She just goes to walk around. And she'll go to Target, and inevitably, that journey will lead to her purchasing like 3 or 4 items. And then we have to take those 3 or 4 items and integrate them into our home, thereby creating a new experience, right? Like, I don't know, she saw some vacuum or some blender or something like that, and she's like, this looks great. Now it's a new part of our life. It's a new experience that we have. So new stuff is really cool, but it can get a little overwhelming, right? So that's not my apartment, just FYI. Man. So you could see here that if I try to do laundry here, the experience that I would try to have is not going to be there. The basic expectation of doing laundry is not going to happen for me. If I'm trying to cook, same thing. It's not going to be there because there's all of these features, there's all this new stuff that's been piled on top of it. Same thing if I go to the restroom. I mean, I could probably read some really nice books, but I'm not going to be able to take a shower, and that's really what I want to do. And as you keep doing this, you'll keep overloading features and features and features, and over time, the basic experience that you once had is no longer there. And it's the same for software and the same for web. And that's called experience rot. If you didn't know the name for it, that's what it's called. It's called experience rot. And that term is defined like this, okay? So if you have more features, you're going to increase complexity of your app, and that's going to decrease the experience. I don't care what you say. You can dump all the features you want thinking it's going to be the greatest app in the world. That is what's going to happen. I've seen it. And the guy who made this phrase is Grandmaster Jared Spool. I say Grandmaster because he's friggin' awesome. Jared Spool is to UX designers like the Grandmaster is to Kung Fu fighters. My designer boy's got that in the back, yeah. So you can go check his stuff out at uie.com. I've seen him speak a couple of times. He's a really good speaker, great guy. Check him out. But he talks about experience rot. So there's some things we can do to solve this. Now, if you haven't gotten it by this point, what I'm talking about is you have software, you might work at a company, you might work for clients, and they want a bunch of stuff on it. And maybe you already have a bunch of stuff on it, and you want to solve this. So let's look at some things that can solve that. So here are some tips that I've found working here that you guys might find useful too. Number one is the Kano model. Has anybody heard of the Kano model here? Oh my gosh, yes, that's awesome. Okay, cool, I get to share something new. All right, cool. So this is the Kano model. It was made by, I don't remember his first name, just look it up, Google it. It's Japanese, I'm sorry if you're listening. He's an economist from the 1980s, and he made this model, and it's awesome. I should know it. Oh man, what a hypocrite. So basically, if you look at it like 2D planes, so the x-axis here is the investment over time that you're creating from left to right. And the vertical axis is the satisfaction rating. Really low satisfactions on the bottom, very high satisfaction on the top. So the blue line right there indicates like those are the basic expectations, right? When I save the document, I want it to save. That's the basic expectation. Excitement generators are things that are going to excite you. So let's look at that. Clarification, right? Basic expectations, something that you automatically want to happen. You already know it's going to happen without the product even telling you. This is what you're expecting to happen, right? A basic expectation for Steve Harvey, if you didn't see Mr. Universe, he had a basic expectation and really messed it up, right? So if we look at that, you say, I mean, I don't blame him. Second runner-up, USA. First runner-up, Colombia. Why not just put the winner right there? Like, what is the point of putting it all the way on the bottom right of the screen? It's pretty, I guess. It looks like a watermark to me. I wouldn't have read it either. I totally would have got it wrong. So you can avoid a moment like this, by paying attention to your basic expectations, right? I mean, this is really important. This is really important stuff. Avoid those moments. Excitement generators. So excitement generators are something surprising and new. So some examples of that would be, like, we have a game, Eric Bai and I, called Vet Island. And something we've talked about is because it's a game and because it's for kids, we have a really hard time marketing that. So one idea we've had is inviting parents or kids, essentially, like parents tell their kids, like, hey, draw a picture of an animal or a made-up animal and send it into the guys, and they'll create a character for you on the game. That is an excitement generator because not a lot of game companies will do that. Why? Because it's a lot of work, but that's our investment. Our investment would be, that. But there's a problem. If you keep doing things like this, people are going to expect you to do it. So your delights, your excitement generators basically become basic expectations over time. And that's what the Kano model is trying to describe, is like, once you start doing this stuff and once you start down this road, you better be able to fulfill it and keep going with it. Otherwise, people are going to call you out on that crap. Clever content is another excitement generator. Like, we do that at Planning Center. We write really nice, nifty app release notes, and people really pay attention to it. When we stop doing that, people say, hey, where's your cool, clever notes? Like, what happened to that? Sorry, we'll keep doing it. That's a basic expectation now. People look forward to that. We just got a free delivery for how many like the full stack flag outside? Right? Isn't that awesome? Very cool, right? We requested it kind of last minute, and the guy was nice enough to drop it off, right? That's a surprise. That's a great excitement generator. Like, I'm going to use that guy again. San Marcos banners and flags or something, if anybody's interested. That guy rocks. Just free plug for you right there. He's like, man, you got my name wrong and everything. So yeah, you want to make sure you follow through with those. If you're going to start excitement generators, just make sure you have a backup plan and watch out for them. Number 2 is designing for the frame of mind, and this one really hit me. Really, I took it to heart. I was fortunate enough to go to San Francisco this year and go to Event Apart. I'm sorry I have the wrong URL down there, but I'll have to correct that. But I met Eric Meyer, who is, if you guys don't know him, he's the godfather of CSS, you know, awesome, Eric Meyer. And he had a really, really heartbreaking situation, I think last year or year prior, where his daughter passed away. And he described that incident, and it was really, really insane because as a designer, I never thought about this before. He basically talked about the situation where his daughter was having an emergency. He was trying to figure out, she went ahead, she was airlifted away, she went to the hospital, and he was trying to figure out where at the hospital she was while he was driving. Someone offered to drive him there. And he was talking about the experience he was having on his phone. So basically, he was in such a state of shock, he couldn't focus on the marketing page for the hospital. He couldn't see anything past, you know, the emotion that he was feeling, the panic he was feeling. And it never occurred to him that he's on a phone. Like, where's the phone number? Can I just call the hospital? It never occurred to him once. And he was scrolling around trying to zoom in and pinch and figure out what was going on because the site wasn't responsive. And he mentioned something that really stuck out to me. He said, why isn't it, if I'm on a phone looking at a hospital, chances are I'm probably not interested in your marketing site. I am interested in, it's probably an unexpected visit, you know? So why wouldn't there be some type of media query that says, hey, unexpected visit to hospital? Like, turn that on. Say something like, here's the directions. Since then, this hospital, I think they've redesigned, and it's a lot better. I don't know if they listened to him, but that's something that really, like, you don't think about, and it's really intense stuff. He made a point of saying to me that not a lot of people will thank you for that stuff. It goes, like, under the radar because they're in such a state of shock, but it's really, really important because you've seriously just made that stressful situation so much more easier for them. Yeah, it really stuck out to me. I mean, I Googled Tri-City in this area, and I'm sorry for calling out anybody if you work for Tri-City. I'm not bagging on you, but I checked out the responsiveness, and I'm like, man, what if somebody was like in an emergency right now? Like, they would want to know the details of how to get to where they need to go. I don't know what my child has. I don't know what's wrong with them. Like, I don't know the symptoms. They passed out. They're airlifted. Like, give me just basic instructions. Where am I supposed to go? It's something to really think about. That's some hardcore UX stuff right there. And I think the problem is, as designers and as developers, a lot of the times we're just designing for this picture. And it's in our heads. Like, we're creating stuff for this perfect scenario where it's calm, and they're on their computer, and they're using our product. And granted, a lot of the times that's what it is, but I feel like we could do a better job of just trying to think of the other scenarios that this person could be in. I think it's really important that we start paying attention to these types of things because it's a reality, you know, it's out there. Number 3 is cut out the features, and this one is really hard. I mean, I work here, you know, as a company, any company has a hard time just cutting out features. But what I kind of approached this in a different way, and I thought about combining features. I made up my own model. This is the Fusion model. There might be something out there that already exists. I don't know. Didn't take the time to look, but hey, I made one. I feel like if you have two patterns that exist within the same context that kind of do the same thing, why not combine them into one and make a hybrid? You know, cutting out those extra steps, that extra cruft, that extra experience that the person thereby has to learn about and has to, like, you take their current knowledge to target knowledge, like you just divide that in half, make the journey that much shorter for them. I think this is really, really powerful, and it's really exemplified really well in gaming. This is a game company called Boombit, and they've cut out their, and a lot of companies do this, but I'm just using them as an example, but they've cut out the whole need for controls on the iPhone or on the iPad. They've just taken those UI elements out, and it's just a one-touch interaction. You get on, you start touching, you see that it's automatically going. So it's like They've just taken all that whole equation out and combined it into one thing. You turn the game on, start touching, and see the game work. I mean, that's kind of like a extreme scenario. Another one is Progressive. Remember when Progressive came out and they were like, where do you live? And you got that out right out of the way. Instead of filling out all the details that most insurance companies would have you do, then you do where do you live, and they're like, sorry, no insurance in that area, right? They kind of like reversed the situation, combined it, and they were like, here you go. We don't, rather than wasting the user's time, let's not waste the user's time. Let's save them some time. Let's save them some knowledge. So if you work for a company, or if you're doing stuff and you say, we'll never do that, you can totally do that. There's nothing wrong with it. You could say, no, we're not cutting out features. We're not combining them. We're going to keep doing that. The problem is there's going to be someone else out there that is eventually going to do that, right? I mean, designers in the room, right? If you know about Adobe and you know about Affinity Designer and Sketch, they're catching up really quickly with Adobe. They're like that close. I'm just waiting for a few more basic features before I really kind of sink my teeth into one of those products. And Adobe, you better believe it, they're turning up the engine right now. They're like going at it full speed. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens within the next year with that. So I think they got a little too comfortable, and now they're saying, well, people are coming out, competition's coming out. Something to be aware of. Simple is another great example with banking, right? I mean, banks, come on, get it together, simple. Just be simple. Just simple, man. Number 4 is have the courage to say no, and that's something that, I have a real problem with. I'm a very agreeable person. Where's Jeremy? Hi. Jeremy knows that I'm a very agreeable person. When people come to me and say, hey man, can you do this? Most of the time I'm like, yes I can. And I've only recently started to say, no, I can't do that. I don't have a lot of time. I gotta, because I'm spread so thin. So I think this is also true when it comes to our products. When customers say, hey, can you do this? Can you make it work for me like this? And we get on the bandwagon of thinking, oh my gosh, yes, we have to appeal to every single thing that they ask. What are we going to do if we don't do it? I mean, they're going to tell everyone on Twitter, on the Twitterverse, that we suck and we're not doing what they want. I mean, ultimately, you can't please everyone, so you just got to kind of say, no, sorry, maybe this product isn't for you. And that's kind of unorthodox, right? But it's true, because eventually you're going to get experience rot. And if you want 2 people who are tremendously successful, who didn't care what anybody said, here you go. Here's an example. I mean, you can't come to me and say, well, we'll, deny your customers. It's like they didn't care. They made stuff that was cool for them, not anybody else. And look how successful they are. Just saying. Planning Center, we do that. I mean, we don't not listen to our customers, but we say, hey, that's a cool idea. We'll think about it. But right now, this is the way we're going. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just be honest. And then number 5, this is especially for designers, you always got to question your work. I recently, I was designing something and I didn't share it with everyone. I didn't seek their feedback. And then the PMs and everybody got a hold of it. And they were kind of like, this doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. And it really was a shocking reveal to me, because as a designer, I was so proud of this one thing, and then it just kind of went away. But they were right. They were fully right. They were fully right. And now the product is way better than what I thought it would be. And that's because I wasn't thinking about designing something that worked. I was thinking about designing something that looked pretty. This is kind of a great example of that. It's really crude. I did it really quick. But this is a toggle button. And a lot of times when I see toggle buttons, I'm like, what am I toggling? What's on? What's off? I don't get it. Just say on or off. Stop trying to be so creative. I mean, I'm a designer and I'm telling another designer, stop not trying to be so creative. Just say on or off, man. Come on. It's not that hard. Check mark X, okay? Jeremy gives me crap for that too. And this is the ultimate question I've started asking myself. Am I designing this to look pretty, or am I designing this because it works? And this is what your designers should be asking themselves. If you're working with designers, they need to start asking themselves this. It's really, really important. That Eric Meyer thing, seriously, I didn't know how serious it was until I started talking to him, and like face to face, it's seriously, man, this is like some hardcore stuff. Like, we need to start taking this serious. So review, Kano model is a really good thing. I mean, if you're not using the Kano model, try and get it into your workflow. Try and put it out on the table and see what your basic expectations are. See how you can put in some excitement generators. And watch it over time. See how it does for you. And make sure you're thinking about the frame of mind and all the scenarios that people are using your product in. I mean, you don't have to be foolproof, but give a little back. Cut out some features. Have the courage to say no, and always question your work. That's really what I'm learning to do more and more. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting there. I've got a long way to go, but it's getting there, and I'm really enjoying this. And I hope that other people, if you want to get into this and you're doing it, or you have designers that are doing it, I hope they enjoy it too. I hope they really, tell them about this video, tell them what I've said. And this is like my final point. I think if we stay true to who we are and stay true to our voice, then we've done much more than created an experience. We've created delight, and that's ultimately what is just going to drive our companies home. It's going to drive our software home, and I think it's something that we can just really bank on. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. That's my Borat picture. I'm Malibu Will on the Twitterverse. I don't tweet though, so don't expect to hear from me. But you can reach out to me if you want. I'll read it. But anyways, thanks guys for listening, and I hope to see you around and ask me questions.